to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. My guest and I are excited that you're joining us this week. So here's the deal, right? Changing our sales game, upping our game in general for career, business, wherever you're coming from. I have a gift for you because at the end of the day, the core skill that is a mandatory for us to up our game in business and life is through communication. So in the show notes, you'll see my Linktree link. In there is my communication style assessment. I highly recommend, if you haven't taken it, to take it. You'll get 2 reports. One will spotlight just your natural communication superpowers, how it lands with people you're communicating with. Important to know, you want to leverage that. Flip side, lowest score. That's a blind spot. Maybe even more important, read that report diligently, because it's how your message is landing with people who communicate 180 degrees different than you. So if your boss, your clients communicate differently than you, that could be a really nice resource. So again, in the show notes is my link. Please take it, enjoy, and I do hope it helps you change your sales game. Now, my quote today, just to set the tone for my guests and my conversation, is by Seth Godin. And he says, I probably said his name wrong, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. So a component of marketing ourselves and our companies is becoming memorable, right, to our potential clients, so they choose to do business with us. This involves so many different forms of media and exposure. Publicity is one of those forms of media exposure that really helps us market our products, our services, and spotlights us, right, as the leader in our business or in your organization. It gets us noticed and helps us build an innovative brand that people learn to respect and ultimately trust. Strategies next exist to help us grow our brand and be noticed in our markets, and you can't do business without them. So who is my amazing guest? She's my dear, dear friend. Her name is Shannon Procise. Now, Shannon is the go-to guide for visionaries seeking to create community and cultivate raving fans. Shannon is the founder of the Business Acceleration Network, BAN, a trailblazing community for conscious business owners who are here to make an impact. So please help me welcome my wonderful friend Shannon to the show. Shannon, thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your show.
Yes. So here's the thing, everybody. Shannon and I have 2 podcasts, and my other podcast is Enlightenment of Change. It's business with a flavor of woo. And because Shannon and I are both very heart-centered. So Shannon, what I'll do too in this show, I'll put that link so people could go back. And that one, we talked about raising capital, which was kind of good when you're looking to change and grow. So she came on that show. Now we're really talking about the media end of things for businesses to help them grow. So again, I'll put that in the show notes for everybody. So first question, kiddo. Tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up getting into media and PR, because I think it's a tough industry to get into.
Well, it started with, I was doing health events here in Central Florida, and we were kind of reaching a max of 500 people, which is great for an event. Yeah. But I kept saying, how do we break this code without breaking the bank, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we get more people here? It was a low entry fee. We had everything there to make it attractive, but we weren't getting the media attention that we wanted. So I really started diving in and studying media, reaching out to different PR firms. I mean, some of them were thousands of dollars a month. I mean, it was really crazy. So I'm like, I'm going to crack this code. And finally found an incredible mentor who showed me how to write press releases that get picked up. I wrote one press release, and the tagline was 85 ways to improve your health in 6 hours or less. This one press release got picked up by almost every single outlet in our area. We went from 500 to 2,000 just with this one thing that was free press. So it cost us no money. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what else is out there that we can get our eyes on and marketing and really tap into that publicity that they're looking for.
Yeah, it's remarkable when something works. You're like, what just happened? How do I do this again? Right?
Yes.
What was your background before the media PR, before you started doing these events?
So I've always done some sort of event, but there were more smaller retreats and things like that. And primarily I did a lot of sales. I've been in sales of selling carpet, selling, worked at H&R Block. So I've had a lot of, I guess, sales in my background.
Interesting. And then to go to and Shannon, I got to be on the whole media thing. So I belong to Shannon's community, the band community, and it's just wonderful because I feel like every time I leave there, I go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I've been in business 26 years. Sometimes I leave Shannon, I go, how did I not know that? Like, how did that not hit my radar? But I think you have such a good pulse to get businesses noticed out there. And most of my clients are corporate clients, but they need media too to get them out into the marketplace to increase revenue, increase those eyeballs, to get people in. And then I do the sales piece, right? So you and I are kind of married in what we do, which is just awesome when you meet people that resonate, right? That our messaging is kind of similar. So fascinating. All right. So how can businesses, no matter where you are, right, in that trajectory of business growth, how do they build and maintain that strong relationship with these media professionals that you're talking about? So as we up our game, we're constantly evolving with the media as well.
So I look at the media just like I would a client. So I build a list. I build I start connecting with who is in my local media, who is a media outlet that I want to connect with. Are they doing events? I consider media as a major asset in our business of who do you know in the media. I find that staying in touch with them on what they're doing, connecting with them on stories that they're doing. I had here locally a gentleman that I got to know personally, and I love that I could just call and say, hey, I have a story I think you'd be interested in. And he would always take the phone call and always listen. Doesn't mean he'd always print them, but most of the time he would, because I built that relationship and seen it as this is like a power partner or a client, because there's somebody that can help get the story out. So it's first just starting to identify. And I love going to fundraisers and local events or, finding industry events, because the media is always there, right? They're most of the time they're there sponsoring there. Sometimes they're emceeing. It's very easy to connect with media when you start looking at them as a client, right?
Yeah, it's interesting too so here's a couple of things that I just want to pull out. There was a little nugget in that, and I want to make sure everybody heard it. You've got to know this person personally. I don't care what we're doing, right? My perspective is sales. Your perspective is connecting with media. We're really selling ourselves every day and making those key connections. Like you and I, we're very, very similar in how we approach business and life, and we're very loving and caring, and we show up. So this media guy knows that when you reach out to him, probably 90%, 95% of the time is going to be a direct hit for something he's looking to put through the media, because it's his reputation by using you. So building those relationships, these deep-rooted, vibrant, alive, organic, but real relationships matters. So it's not about transaction. Like, hey, I have a story for you, promote it. You got to know him personally. You got to understand what drives him so that you could send him the right kind of media. It's a win-win, but it takes time to do that. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, well, no, I was just going to say that's the first thing that I do when I connect with them, and it's not, they're not at their desk waiting for a news story, is I ask them about their family. I ask them about, their occupation. How long have they worked there? Do they love their job? And I ask what they do for fun. And I document all of those things so that I can continue to connect with them on what's important to them and what's of value.
Yeah, absolutely. We're humans. And this transactional way of doing business for the dollars, it's icky and it doesn't work. And I think your approach is people first, right? Understanding. And now, oh no, that's what you need. I got some of that for you. And now we have this great back and forth, again, win-win situation. And it's really a win-win-win. You win as the business owner, they win as the media expert, and whoever you're promoting is winning. Through that connection as well. So that trifecta is kind of a cool way to approach, I think, business overall. What are some of the key components of you talked about helping people get their media kind of organized and locked and loaded. So what are some of the components of a successful media pitch? Like what should be in there?
So first off, with the pitches, you want to have that catchy story. And if there's a way to tie in something that's happening in the news or in the industry, that hook, it's kind of like you're fishing. You want to really look at what's that hook. You want to be quick, clear, and concise. I have to say one of the most challenging things is we sometimes say too much. So if there's a way to tie in numbers or stats, anytime you can lead with a stat and have that third party source, according to this county and these stats and this is what's happening, this will capture their attention. So you really want to have something that just captures their attention and wants to know more.
And here's the thing, again, it goes back to the communication. We have to be concise. And I don't know, I've been in meetings where you're very good at facilitating, but you've been in them, Shannon, where you're in a meeting and you're supposed to give a 30-second commercial, go around. So everybody, we could get familiar with each other, right? So who can we partner with and stuff? It's all about relationship. And then somebody goes on and on and on, and they're talking about health. And it's like, can you stay focused? It's like the squirrel, and you have to reel them in. Well, it's the same thing about a pitch. We want to vomit, but they need to know don't, people with too much information make no decision and they don't move forward. So they're not going to pick you up in these media places. What about, so that's the local vibe. I totally get that. Like in my county, this is a number of people who are making X dollars in business versus Pennsylvania. Let's just make believe, right? That's the stat. What about more national driven media? Is there a different approach?
I still think you got to get right to the story and right to the hook. So we have this great tool of AI right now, and it's so awesome because if you can identify the problem that you're addressing, if most of us are addressing a problem, and you give them those stats, you can go into chat and say, what is the problem with businesses or sales in the banking industry, right? And please give the sources. So it's all about the prompt that you put in. But with those prompts, it's amazing the stats that you can get to get that hook and get that anchor for them to pay attention. And if not, then if there's something that you're doing, and it's the same thing with speaking or anything, is I have 3 ways, right, to increase your sales. So giving them numbers, it gets their attention. There's just something psychologically with the numbers, but stats are really easy to gather right now, especially with AI. It makes it much quicker than how I had to do it in the past.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, the technology is so advanced now. I tease when I teach, because when I started in sales, over 4 decades ago, Shan, I had to go to the library. So I would go into an office building. There'd be the kiosk and like Whitman and Associates. Well, what did they do? I don't know. I'd write them down. I'd go to the library and I have to look them up to see if they were a potential client for me. I would go to the hours was spent on this. Now, when people say, I don't have the time, I go, don't even go there with me. You have the time to Google and LinkedIn the owner. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So to me, and they laugh. I go, I know, I sound like your mother right now, but like, what? You don't have time. You have to do that recon. Otherwise, you're throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're wasting so much energy and time that we can work smarter, certainly not harder, and get a better result. I want to ask one more question about the national. So when you do that, national reach, that reach for stats and stuff like that. Does national media show up versus local media? Did that question make sense, Shan?
Ask it a little different, meaning what does show up mean? Tell me.
Well, like local media, I know my local papers. I know the local radio station or the local TV station, in New Jersey. That like your friends in Florida. But like me, banks, they're national, right? I work with banks nationally, not just obviously in New Jersey. Is it the same pitch process to get on a national?
It's the same process. With local, you can use things like, they love the word local because they like local news. So with that, and I want to say this for all of them, is you want to make it, you don't want to be selling you want to make sure that you're telling a story and get right to the point right away. So yeah, it's the same process, whether it's national or local. You just want to get to the point, and if you can share numbers, that's going to be key.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't know if a bigger trajectory.
Some of them, I'm glad that you're bringing this up. So sometimes media could be you write an article, right? So there's a lot of times that you can write an article, and some of them do want cover letters. So you do want to look at what are their requirements? What do they ask for? Because I do like Wall Street Journal. They want you to submit a cover letter. So there are a few where it is a little bit of a different pitch if it's an article.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Great. Thank you for that. How can businesses make their pitches stand out from the crowd? You gave a couple of tips there, right? Get to the
Yeah.
point, get the hook. Is there any other magic that you help your clients kind of perfect that pitch?
Yeah, so when they're doing that, if you've been in the media before, or if you have any sort of uh, initials or accomplishments that can make you stand out, that's going to be significant. It is the time to brag about yourself consciously. So let me share one thing that is important. When we write press releases, we believe that everybody should quote themselves as an expert. And so when you're looking for free publicity, you would say best-selling, like I would say best-selling author. But if it's something where, you've got a contact or there's a syndication and things like that, I could say best-selling author and tell my book. So you want to make sure that if there's things like best-selling author, number one best-selling author, if you have any sort of featured in ABC, NBC, Fox, any of those things that you've already accomplished, that credibility is going to help. You also, if you can include, if it's TV, you want to include a video. If you've been in the media before, show them another clip. If you've been in these news stories before, link them to that article. That really helps them say yes and stand out above the noise. And I have one more thing here that I want to share is I tell people a little differently is don't put your logo and all that stuff on the top. Don't even use a logo, right? Because again, that's like, look at me. When you're trying to get them to look at you in the media, strictly make it about news. I just put the heading at the top. I get right to the point of the story. I do the contact stuff at the bottom, and I make it very, very catchy. And I start with that first hook being, what's going to catch their attention.
You work with all size businesses, right? I'm assuming globally. Is that
Yes.
it? Yeah. Yeah. So no matter the size of the business, media is important. And, because I know people are thinking right now, oh, I'm too small. I'm not ready for that. We're always ready for media, right?
Oh, girl, I help startups or just getting started, or people even raising capital that, we will do things on their board members. There's so much, everybody has at least 50 stories in them that I could come up with right now on, I'm like, give me the challenge. Yeah, we all have media that we can access.
It's interesting because one of the gentlemen in our group, fascinating, he works, I forget his name. He works with the autistic and music.
Yes. Chris.
Yeah.
Chris Salter, yeah.
Chris. Yeah. He was on my show and he's amazing. And he's looking for capital because he wants to create the software and stuff so that we can share with the autistic, really with children in general, right? That learning component, but even us as adults through music. So you're helping him, I know, raise the capital for that as well. So here's the thing, Shan, right? There's so many pieces of business. This is just one aspect. And for me, I hire people because we can't do it alone. For me to spend the time that you've already done the legwork to figure all of this magic out behind Media Magic's the name of your book, right? So to find the magic behind the scenes, it's not worth my time. We're penny wise, dollar foolish as business owners. And I know even my corporate clients, right? It's always about the budget. Yes, we have to be mindful of cash flow and budget and all of those things, but we really are penny wise and dollar foolish on how we approach things. So I'm all about making sure we hire the expert, vet them, and then hire the experts. You're just going to get there so much faster. So time is money, really, for all of us.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating in the industry right now is there's a lot of people that write press releases and people are going to AI, but if they don't work with an expert, they won't. Like I push it to the edge and I maximize every single opportunity and then show you how to, even after it's done, maximize those opportunities, because people will send me press releases and they'll go, look at this. And I'm like, it doesn't even have any links. It doesn't, it's quite fascinating, the difference, as you say, when you work with an expert, that this is what they do and they know those edges you can get up against, right? It's kind of, this in sales. It's like, there's a, why don't we maximize what's possible? If you're going to do this, do it the best the first time.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about the AI before this, and we have to. I say this, I feel like on every show now because it's important. Look, I use it too. I use AI too. You have to keep your voice, though. I know they say, "Oh, ChatGPT learned your voice." Yes, but I could tell you if you sent me something you wrote and something that same topic, ChatGPT wrote, I could tell you which is which because it's much more. What's the right word? Like it's not human. Right. It's got that edge of, oh, kind of generic versus that magic, right, that we have in our voice and through our expertise. So AI is important to use, but we have to understand how to leverage it. So I agree. And people are writing, oh, I could do this. I'll go in, topic, whatever, and ask ChatGPT to it. You don't think these PR agencies and these media outlets know the difference between the real pitch and a fabricated one by AI? They absolutely do. They're experts. So we have to make sure that, because I believe you have one shot. So if I go out to whatever the media source is and they go, oh, another generic, out with the garbage, they see my name again, they're never going to ever want to look at me because they think she took the easy way out the first time. We have to prove who we are and build that trust up front. So for me, it's always about hiring the expert to do the right thing, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you agree. It's funny. I had a conversation yesterday with one of the bankers. I always offer, this is just, I think, what differentiates me from my peers in the marketplace. And I say to the employees, listen, man, the real learning happens when you're in front of your client. So don't beat yourself up. You go blah, 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 hamada in front of the client. I know Connie taught us that. I don't know how to. Email me later. This was the situation. This is what I said. How could I made it better? And I had a young lady, she was trying to email her business clients yesterday. She emailed me, can you talk to me for 5 minutes? Of course I did. I got on the phone. I called her and we wrote an email. She said, do you know, I spent 2 hours on writing this email and it was horrible. And in 30 seconds, I said, well, this is what you want to do for the business owner, right? You have to make them feel important and that they're being seen and that you're curious about them, not, I have a home equity loan for you. Why don't you come and buy it from me? There's a big difference. By the end, she's like, oh my God, how did you do that? I go, it's called 4 decades of experience. Why would you compare yourself to me? That's unfair to self, right? Because you don't have 4. She was a young woman. This is what we're up against, I think, where I can chat GPT it, but you don't have the depth of your 25, 30 years, right? That's the difference. And I think that we don't, my view on the Shen is don't minimize yourself. You got to show up big. And in order to do that, we're hopefully too humble to brag about ourselves. We need people like you to help us pull those stories out because we don't even know what's happening up in our brain.
And that is so true, Connie, because most people they have a hard time seeing that, bragging about themselves and then just seeing the potential in certain things. I remember having a client last year and we were in probably 2, almost 3 months. And then I found out she was on the cover of Inc. magazine. And I was like, hello, like that should be your photo of LinkedIn. And really, we don't always remember how significant we are in the milestones. So that's what I love doing, is pulling those out and really shining the light of this needs to be a part of the story.
It's funny because that person where you say, Con, what are your highlights? I go, business on 26 years, and yeah. So I recently got interviewed for a publication and young man in Jersey trying to get Jersey businesses to kind of be like a cohort. I love it. The kid's great. And so he asked me, he goes, well, what milestones, like what accomplishments have you done, just maybe in the last couple of years? And I went, not really anything. And I was an international bestseller in 2020. I published my book and I did 3 other books. And I said, oh, and what was the other one? See, I forget. There was the other, my podcasts are ranked in the top 5% of all business related podcasts. So there's like 4 million business podcasts out there. I'm in the top 5%. So yes, it's still 300,000 or whatever. But he was like, Connie, that's remarkable. My response, because I did it. It's part of my business, it's part of me. You forget those accomplishments. Do you see that all the time?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, I giggled. Yeah, he was so impressed. I go, really? You're impressed? And he was like, are you freaking kidding me? I said, okay. I didn't think it was a big deal. So yes, but see, that's why we need people to pull those experts to pull it out of us. I love it. All right, next question. What are the common mistakes, and I know there are many, do you see businesses make when they try to engage with the media, in addition to anything else that we've talked about? What are some of the biggies?
Yeah. So one of the things when we reach out to the media, there's two different ways. We have a syndication service, and then we also, reach out directly with stories and pitch and do the free publicity. And so it is that talking too much. So we get so passionate about what we're doing, or we're trying to get them to pick up the story. And really, when they ask a question, we want to answer the question, right? Not expand into a bunch of other things. And you have to pause. So like one time I was sitting in and I got the reporter to come to the business, went there and met with them locally. And the reporter asked one question and he went on almost 20 minutes. And I'm like, they're trying to kick him under the table, like pause, like stop. Like you can literally talk the media out of a story because we talk so much. So it's really just, answering the question and planting the seed. Now, it can be that sometimes they ask questions that we don't want to talk about. Like one time I got on a TV interview and he's like, so what is what are we not conscious if we're not a part of your organization? Because I had the word conscious business owners. And I was like, I don't want to go there. I said, well, that's a great question. What I'd like to share is what our members are. So I really, you can navigate those things, but we have to pause and we have to stop. We also have to be considerate of their time. So I love the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I'm sure you've recommended that a ton.
Of course.
Because building that relationship is important and being mindful. So when I connect with a media person, I try to go through that family, occupation, recreation, find their motivation. But I'm very mindful. Am I calling it a good time? Right? Do you have a moment? And I know you're really busy, and I'm always acknowledging it. When is the best time? And just being graceful and kind. The other thing is, in media, you can get 10 no's. And when you get a no, you have to act as if the next time you connect with them as if it's the first time. Hey, I know I rewrote some pieces here, or I thought of another angle, or whatever it is that you're connecting with the media about. You have to be kind. You have to be loving. You have to have this thick skin, Connie, right? Like some of my best stories have been where I got no 13 times, and then I get a full page of something. So it's like, you really got to be just a kind person to them and treat them as human beings and build that relationship.
Yeah. And I want to share a quick story, and then I want to hear one of your stories about where you got the no's 13 times, but then bam, you got that full page ad. But before we do that, I just want to share, I had a woman, she's reinventing herself, probably my age, maybe a little bit younger. She sent a lovely email to me pitching herself to be on my podcast. And so I have certain requirements, again, because I'm so booked with the show. Thank God. That's such a beautiful blessing. And so I sent my standard email to her. These are the criteria. And she responded immediately and said, oh, I don't even meet nearly the criteria you're looking for. I just reinvented myself. I'm pivoting and shifting, and I'm just trying to get my message out there. And her message was really good. I liked her topic. And she was so humble, so kind, so respectful, and so honest. I responded immediately and I said, I want to have you on my show. Look, man, we're all in this together. Let me support you. I pivoted right when COVID hit. I said, we're in this together. Please come on my show. I would really be honored to support you. She sent this, she says, Connie, I'm in tears reading your email. Like, what? To me, this is business. This is how we should be doing business. She says, I promise I will show up. And I'm thinking, lady, you already proved yourself to me, right? So by being that human, by being and showing that compassion, but being honest, it was enough for me to say, these are the kind of people I want in my life and the shows I want to create, because we really all started somewhere. So how do we support each other, right? The ships rise together. So I think that's that human element. We forget it's not about the transaction, right? It's digging in because we're dealing with other humans. Now I want to hear your success story.
So with this one, it was, no, we didn't get it yet. No, it's the wrong department. No, we're not looking for this type of story. No, not right now. And just kept calling calling back and shifting things a little bit. And usually I don't give up until it goes to print. And it was actually that evening when they went to print, and I said, oh, I guess, did my best, didn't make it. And I got a call from the editor of the publication who said, we have remnant space. And remnant space means we went to go to print and we're missing a page, right? Like we need another story. And said, I would love to do the story, love to do the interview. Ended up doing it that evening and did a full picture, full story. It was really, really magical. And I know that had I sounded irritated one time, had I sounded annoyed, written a nasty email, anything, it would have blown that opportunity. But because each person I would talk to, just lovingly, hey, what about this? And just kept at it. I believe that's a big part of why they said yes.
You're making me laugh. My 7th step in my sales process is follow-up, right? It's kind of how we end and then we begin again with the client. But here's the thing. I call it CPR, right? I'm doing the paddles if you're listening on Apple, to keep the client alive in our orbit, right? That they know who we are. We stay top of mind. But the CPR stands for consistent, persistent, respectful follow-up. And that's exactly what you just described. You have to show up in a respectful manner, but you have to be consistent and persistent. You can't do it once and say, I tried. What are you going to do? We have to circle back, reiterate, and change so that we can mirror or give them what they're actually looking for, because they know what the publication is about, right? They know what the topics that are relevant within that realm. And by you doing that CPR follow-up, you found right at the 11th hour that they were able to throw you in. It's showing up, right, Shannon? It's showing up. Yeah. Last question. We're out of time, but I have one more question. What advice do you have for business leaders and, again, my corporate clients within the division heads within the organization that are looking to build that personal brand or that business brand through media and PR? Like, what's a good first step, let's say?
So I love this syndication piece, having somebody tell the story about you and get like right now, you can get into Forbes, you can get into Fox, ABC, NBC, getting those credibility logos, those credibility pieces are something that is going to make you stand out. So it could be submitting an article. It could be having somebody tell a story about you, which is even more powerful than an article will allow you to shine. The media, there is literally thousands of dollars of publicity waiting right now for people to get their name on it. It's just taking those steps to do it. So whether you do it yourself and you craft a press release or you hire an expert, as we've talked about, is excellent. Allowing somebody to find all those gems, pull that out, get that picked up for you. And now you can add that to your bio. You can add that to your resume. You can add that to your signature on your email. I mean, there's so many LinkedIn, there's so many places that you can add that credibility and be able to share the story that's been told about you without having to necessarily say it yourself.
Okay, so you're going to yell at me. So when my book got published, of course, I hired experts and I became the #1 international bestseller with my book, right? The ESP book. And I was on all those platforms, Fox, NBC, I think CNBC. There was a couple, and I have the logo on my website, but I don't have it on my signature. I don't have it on LinkedIn. I don't have it in my bio. Oh, I'm a bad girl.
No, I'm going to gift you something if it's okay, because everybody that goes through our PR thing, we give them a free training. I found that a lot of us forget, right? It's like we do it and we keep going. And so I used to coach people ahead of time. And I'd call them up afterwards going, hey, did you do this and this and this? And they forgot. So I developed a quick video series with, add it to your bio, send an announcement out to your list, and the SEO, how to do it on your website, because those cross links can really help with the SEO optimization to the article. So I will get that to you so that you can get in and even give it to your assistant, and you can go down like a checklist and get all those done for you.
So you see, again, business 26 years, Shannon, and I've known you for almost 2 years now, and we talk in the PR and stuff. And I have that credential. It just never came through the conversation. We don't know what we don't know. Here's like my communication style assessment. Here's a blind spot. I have the credential or that exposure. and I've done nothing with it other than put it on my website. Because isn't that just what you do? No, there's so much more. So I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I got a lot more to do. That's what I'm hearing, people, on the show.
Well, and Connie, what's great is that as people know you, I mean, obviously you're so magnetic in all you do in your podcasts and the way that you do what you do. I mean, it really, when people really step into your training and the way of communicating, it becomes, it's like you can fall in love with it. You can fall in love with sales, and it makes it so easy and relaxed as you learn to do it. But as people that don't know you are looking at other websites of different sales experts, you're going to totally stand out because you got a book, you got a podcast, you've been featured in all of these places. So,
okay. So you know what I learned today, Shan? And everybody listening, I think I have to hire Shannon because clearly the moron business owner here has no idea where I probably have all of these assets, Shan, that I just don't even know how to leverage because, and here's the important piece. It's just not my zone of genius, and it will never hit my radar because it's in a blind spot. We don't know we have blind spots until you hear conversations like this. And all of a sudden now you shine the light on something that I'm like, really? I didn't even think to do that. And here's the thing. It's already done. That media is already done. How do I leverage it? I haven't even thought about that. So thank you, my friend. Hey, everybody, I learned something new today. And I'm sure everybody listening is like, ping, 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 within their world of things that are missing. Everyone, I'm going to share Shannon's not credentials, her website and her email. It's businessaccelerationnetwork.com. Please come and play with us. Amazing group of people. Check out the website and you'll see everything and how you can join the community with Shannon for sure, as well as all the amazing information on her website. Additionally, if you're listening and going, oh, I'm a Connie Whitman right now and I have media and I don't know where to begin, or I love this idea of free publicity, where do I begin? Please email Shannon at info@shannonprocise.com and she will get back to you. When I tell you she is quick on the return of the email, her and her team are amazing. And you have a free gift. Tell everybody what the free gift is. I think there was, you tell them what it is. I don't remember.
I'd love to give away my Media Magic book.
Yes.
Yes. So you can actually go to MediaMagicBook.com and you can download the PDF for free, or you can just pay for shipping and get the book in your hands. But this is a workbook. And so we give you press release templates. We tell you how to contact the media, how to write an expert power bio. And so it's a really powerful tool to start attracting media today.
I love it. So here I've downloaded the book. So now it's hit my radar. Guess what I'm reading this weekend, guys? And guess what I'm going to send it to my assistant to say, start looking at this stuff and let's see how we can curate. I'm telling you, we all have blind spots, Shannon. This, I hope was definitely an eye opener for me. I hope it was an eye opener for some of the listeners who are at that point where they know they need that PR. And here's the other thing. I just want to share one more thing that Shannon said early on. She does work with startups. And here's my recommendation, 26 years being in business, right? And being an older person, right? I'm not in my 20s anymore. Hire someone like Shannon, me, whoever it is for you that resonates with you, but save yourself time and money by doing it right the first time and leveraging, because if we can create that cash flow using free media and other things, right? So yeah, you're paying a little bit maybe for the expertise, but you're finding those outlets to get your name out there. Now you have cash coming in. Now you can update your website or you can up your game with whatever platform you're offering your programs. We need cash to be able to grow. So the media is kind of an important first step, in my opinion. Again, 26 years being in business. So I really hope everybody heard that. It's never too early to start. Don't be afraid to have a conversation. And that's what we're talking about, right? Just reach out to Shannon, go to the website, start exploring, do the workbook. Trust me, there's magic in this. And there's magic in what Shannon has created in her band community, the Business Acceleration Network. So come and play with us, join us. Go ahead. You want to add one more thing?
No, I was just going to say, and it's the same with sales and having somebody like you, Connie, because I know that you could spend all this time in getting in front of the right people, but it could be just little tweaks in what you're doing, or doing it a little bit better, and it will just accelerate your success. I think that the communication and learning how to do sales, because we can be so passionate about what we're doing. I could get you the media, but if the phone's ringing and things are coming in and you don't have that worked out, it's for nothing. So really, they do, as you mentioned in the beginning, they do go hand in hand, and equally important.
Yeah. And, I teach the verbal communication. You're about that communication to get the exposure. See, but at the core for me, everything we do as humans, it really boils down to communication, whether it's personal or professional. And I think we forget, I'm a good communicator, yet the person doesn't listen. You're not a good communicator. Communicator isn't that you have a great vocabulary. It's that you pause, you listen, you have these wonderful dynamic conversations. And everybody listening, the show, I have a couple of questions for my guests. But that we went down roads that weren't on the questions. It's called listening and saying, oh, wait, because if I have another question, right, as a business owner, as a professional, I know my listeners are going to have it. So that listening component is another piece, but you have to be in the right place at the right time. And we need help with that. We can't know everything. It's not possible. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. I love you. I love you. Every time I hang up with her, I go, I love you. And I don't say that to everybody, but I do say it to Shannon. So thank you for sharing your genius. Thank you for just being so loving with my listeners. I truly appreciate you. And I really hope you know that.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, always a pleasure, my friend. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are on changing your sales game, career, business, whatever it might be. I really hope that my guests and I provide tools, ideas, something that Shannon said or I said that you're like, oh, I got to do that. That's the point of this show. Information's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, it's just information in your brain. I promise you, when you put that information, action into place, reaction happens and magic happens. So download Shannon's book, go to the website. Just that's an action. And I promise you, you'll change the trajectory of your life and your business and your career. Shannon, thank you again for being on. Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Changing the Sales Game with me, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I truly am inspired to have you on this journey of changing your sales game with me, and that you trust me every week to listen. I love you all, like I love Shannon, but I love you all, and I will see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. And Shannon, thanks again. Have a good week. See you next week. Bye, guys.